Who is vice?
What?
Is it me?
Is it David?
think
I
so,
think it might be.
You're live.
David,
Okay.
you want to call it to order?
Sure. Being that the press and public were duly notified in accordance with state law, I'd like to call the April 9th Planning Commission meeting to order. First order of business is approval of minutes.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of approving the minutes as printed, say aye.
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 Nays? They're approved. New business, turn it over to you, Doug.
Yes. So we talked about last month, kind of an effort to organize and to divvy out various recommendations and multiple documents that have been developed. In your packet, and Tim, Suzanne, and Ron were working on a matrix. We had an addition in the Environmental Advisory Committee. Todd Murphy also had an interest in working on it. They also have had kind of eyes on these various plans. And so what you had in your packet was a new last month you had the original matrix. This month you have a new matrix that has it's a tab in the same matrix. But it was an attempt at organizing like initiatives. So now it's taken that list and it has labeled or added an initiative to each of those, and it now allows you to kind of sort by initiative. And there's a little bit of kind of needing to go back and forth between the two tabs, but what this matrix allows us to do is to sort by initiatives and then delve out to each committee. And so that's kind of where we're trying to get. And I would say that I have heard a little bit of a concern through the grapevine that the authors of each document don't want any of their language or their recommendations to be lost. So in other words, don't kind of start grouping them together so much that you're coming up with generalized initiatives, because the wording was very intentional. So that is, and in your packet, you'll see that there was a reference number,
Mm-hmm.
and the purpose of that is to always allow whoever's looking at this document to go back to the original wording of the original document and read explicitly what each document says. So that's kind of the goal, that you would have this map. It would allow you to group similar items, and it would allow us to see who to assign each item to which committee. So that's kind of where we are, and I know you all have, I think you all, since this has gone out, I think the working group has had a meeting or so, and
So I sent you an email the other day to Matt, Matt, and Todd,
yep,
after Tim, Ron, and I took a whirl at this.
yep,
I have to go back to my email. I basically, we kind of agreed that we can't do much, one, the goal was lost. Two, we can't do much with this, in that it should be sent to the different committees to let them discuss and prioritize.
well, that is, so I guess the next
And then
step will
next-
be,
Right.
if this group thinks that the assignments
Mhm.
are correct, the initiatives are correct, the next step will be to assign each initiative to the corresponding group. So yes, that's definitely the next, that will happen. But I think before we did that, we wanted to be sure you all felt like the assignments and the initiatives made sense.
They make sense. There's a lot of redundancy. I know what you mean when they wanted everything left intact.
Right.
But at some point, there is a lot here. So if you send it back to each individual committee to discuss these and let them massage it and prioritize, and then if you want it to go to council and they get kicked back to us, or have council kick it back to us, then I think it becomes something more workable.
Mm-hmm.
And that if we try to do something with this without clear direction, I'm not sure we're gonna be successful at it efficiently.
Yeah, and the first step is, this group is not at all being tasked with addressing, and I think it's approaching 300. I think it's right at, 280, 285.
I thought it was 278. Did you add more?
It's a lot. And every,
Check the spreadsheet.
so this group is not being asked to look at all 300
Right.
at this point. And in your matrix, you all are gonna be assigned kind of the land use initiatives, so you will get a chunk of the 300
Mhm.
specifically to drill down on.
Look at land use.
Well, when I was looking at the matrix,
Yeah,
I just read through it and put it on a corresponding piece of paper in order of where I thought they would land, like safety, traffic, parking, beach. And there's a lot of redundancy in this.
Right.
And a lot of it's already in the comprehensive plan and the local comprehensive beach plan.
that's correct.
It's already on the books. So I don't know if they could go back and kind of pare through it a little bit and see if they can collate all the redundancy or get rid of some of the redundancy and clear up some of the language. Because a lot of it's just kind of wishes,
Yeah.
If we
Needs
can
and
do
wants.
this, which is all good educational programs, but I'm not, it's a lot to sift through. And then a lot of it, like I say, is already there. So,
You know,
That's-
I now have the matrix up, and for whatever reason, it appears that so each initiative and each recommendation has been assigned to a
Group.
committee, but that column actually appears to be hidden.
Which one, A, B, or C?
Well, it's,
E.
is it E?
E.
E,
Design committee is E, at least.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
is
on
it?
mine, I can't unhide that. E is hidden.
it's not in mine.
Oh, okay. For
Is
some
it?
reason it was
'Cause-
hidden in mine. So E is the assigned committee.
Where's unhide, is right? Shoot. I don't,
Do you have an E in yours?
I have a E, but there's nothing in there, so I'm looking to unhide. But I don't see it. Let me see what you have, David.
And if we sort by committee, column E,
I don't have,
So under view, you can,
right,
So-
but this is your title. I don't have that.
well, that's because I resaved it under with my initials behind
Okay.
it so that I would, because I've already might start making notes and comments
Okay.
in it.
All right. Let me go back to that matrix. All right, I'll figure that out, but let me.
and it appears that, so, for instance, I mean, your group, the planning commission, and actually it looks like you all have been assigned or would be assigned maybe 20, 25 initiatives for recommendation to the planning commission, to the city council. And so the same would be true for the public safety committee, for the environmental advisory committee. Each would get some amount.
So is that kind of the next step, that each group will take a look at
That's the plan. That's,
whatever
once
was
we,
divvied to them?
that's correct. And go really, they would do the deep dive on kind of everyone, look at the original wording of the initiative and develop, you know, kind of actionable next steps and
Next steps.
recommendations for
Yeah.
city council to, and then city council, and there's a little bit of, you know, in terms of how city council receives these back, it's gonna be, and you keep hearing folks, acknowledge that it's just so much.
Yeah,
So it could be, and I think that was part of, and Matt assigned kind of a short, medium, long-term column as well. So it could be that the 300 ends up being, going back to council. So this planning commission could potentially say, here are the short-term recommendations out of this group. We think this is actionable now or in the next year, and then keep working, and then go back with medium, then go back with long, to just kind of eat the elephant one bite at a time, so that council can digest it in bits.
Well-
That's a little bit more organized
Yeah.
and
I mean, a lot of these, they overlap, like we said. There are also a lot of them that are already being
Addressed.
That's correct.
addressed. It may be worth looking to ensure that they're being addressed, but there's not an action per se, other than what's already currently scheduled.
that's correct.
So a lot of these, I think, and I think there's a lot of them that would fall into that category of
Yeah,
things that have already been either working or put off into a future plan.
right.
I guess each group
Oh,
would
yeah,
take their,
got it. I
whatever
had
was
the
assigned to
other
them
one
and kind of
pulled
determine that.
Yep, that's
Okay,
what
that's-
I'm envisioning, that
Okay.
each group would work on their, whatever it is. I don't know who's the unlucky committee that gets the most, but for your example, you know, I'm just looking at the planning commission assignments. Of those, you probably have 5 or 6 that are short-term.
Okay,
You have,
let's see what's happening.
the majority of them. There's a lot of them that are aspirational, to your point, or exploratory. So I would say that the kind of immediate, we would probably sort this by actionable and short-term, and just see if we can start kind of making a series of recommendations.
I think we have 2 databases we're working with. I think everybody else has the original one. And then you and Todd, or Matt and Todd got together and reworked it, and they had the tabs. And that's a different one than you're looking at.
Oh, okay.
So I think that there's 2.
Yeah, I think I've
They
got the
didn't
one
get
that
the
was originally
recommended
sent
one.
out.
The one that Todd and Matt worked on
Oh,
only came
okay.
to Ron,
All right.
me, and Tim.
So you only have a PDF of the new,
No, I have the Excel file of what
you 3 have the Excel file, but the
Of
rest
what
of the
type?
group only has a PDF of.
No.
the
No,
new
no,
ta-
you sent the
He-
original Excel
He sent
file.
the original Excel. The PDF, I think, has been modified.
So,
Is that
All
right?
I have
Todd's
is
version
a
has been-
PDF that.
Do they have
doesn't
Todd's,
columns
does
on
the
it.
entire commission
what's-
have Todd's?
I don't think so, no.
Okay.
So-
I mean,
Well, I think you did
the spreadsheet
email
I
it
have is
separately,
from
but not in that
before the
packet.
last meeting.
right, so
So nothing new since
everybody
the
has
last
the
meeting.
old spreadsheet before Todd and
Right.
Matt started making the
Okay.
initiatives and the tabs. 'Cause-
So you do not have a new Excel, other than the 3 of you, you
Right.
don't have a new Excel sheet?
I have a new
Yeah,
I think-
the only one I have is from before
2
the
months
last.
ago.
Okay.
I think you
from
emailed
March.
it to Tim, Susan,
Yeah.
and David,
Yeah.
yeah, the new one, separately,
Maybe
not in
not-
the packet.
Not me.
And
Or sorry,
Ron,
and
Ron.
Ron, yeah.
Ron.
So I could just send it,
Yeah, I have it here.
okay? And
I've
then-
got,
Okay.
Suzanne, I'll send it out to everybody. So this would help, and I would say that the new tab is in your, so the Excel spreadsheet will send you, has the original matrix, and then there is a new tab that's by initiative, and that's what was in the packet, but it's a PDF, obviously not sortable or anything else. And also, we'll send that out.
So the PDF has the major, title and then the explanation for
That's
all the
correct.
300 or so
Yep,
line items that they.
yep, this is a new, yeah, new tab of the same,
Compilation of-
of the same, matrix,
Okay.
just now with an initiative added. So Suzanne, back to the kind of working group's thoughts. Are you all thinking that it's at a point now that we assign committees with each? Was that kind of your consensus, was that let the committees wrestle with the initiatives that they get assigned with individually and start working through them? Or do you all wanna
Well, I
take
think,
another?
I don't wanna take it, no, I don't wanna look at this again. I think when we left here at the last meeting, our goal, the three of us, was to put this into something digestible. Because I think, we had discussed, Douglas, to try to get it down from 278 line items to something more manageable. Somewhere in between then and now, Matt and Todd came up and did a great job of trying to organize it, but it's still huge. It's still an organized mess.
Yeah,
And since we were kind of hesitant on combining, chopping, adding, reworking, we just thought that the best approach to this is to send it back. Whatever the committee assignments were,
just use those.
send it to them and let them prioritize, deal, with it. 'Cause
Recommend they go somewhere else.
piecemeal it, I mean,
Or
It's-
consolidate them.
consolidate,
Yes.
it's gonna take.
Well, so that's what that initiative
Right.
column was intended to do. So that is an effort at again, being sensitive to not
Right.
eliminating any recommendation because of people's kind of pride in the authorship of every recommendation. So to not eliminate anything, but to maintain that all intact, but try to group them. And the term that was used was initiative, to group them hopefully into a pot of recommendations that are all like, and then an assigned committee that could take that pot of recommendations that are all similar and come up with a new, come up with something for city council to consider. So that was the effort, was to organize them, but at the same time, keep the original documents intact and not be seen as, okay, we've taken all this and we've kind of cut out, a large percentage of it.
I'm looking at more efficiency and eliminating redundancy. And I think to maintain the list's integrity, would be to divvy it out to the applicable committees, even if there's redundancy.
Yep, I think we're saying the same. You
Okay,
take
let
the
the-
redundancy and,
And then we can take it from there.
yep,
Does that,
yeah.
okay,
And we'll just maintain, as you all work through it and as each committee works through it, we'll say, okay, we took these 4 recommendations
and they're all the same.
and we're gonna give you the original text of all 4. And this is our recommendation of how you could push that initiative forward or whatever it is that you come up with on each.
Or please explain to me why this initiative is similar to this initiative. What is the difference, and what is the thought process?
Well, some of them had multiple requests in it.
Oh, yeah.
Signs for, the coyotes, and then there was something else.
Color coding signs,
Right, so there was
Alerting
like
signs.
5 different items in one line.
QR codes.
QR
Yeah,
codes.
QR codes, right.
Mhm.
So, it just, that was one, and then there was another one that just said signs for coyotes.
So again, these were done, each of these documents was done in a complete vacuum to the other documents. So they were
Right.
not, this was 2 independent groups or more than that,
You mean,
working in a silo without the benefit, they did not have a starting point of the other plans. They just said, okay, we're gonna work on a community enrichment plan, and their ultimate product had a lot of similarities with the comprehensive plan.
So-
But they weren't looking to kind of add to, they did it without, some of them, I'm sure, had read the comprehensive plan, but they did it really in a complete vacuum to all the other documents. So that's the reason why there is redundancy.
So you have 4 subcommittees within that community enrichment, right?
That's correct.
And so one did environment, one did safety, one did seasonal impact, and one did quality of life.
Yep.
And there's overlap in some
Right,
of
so
that.
my question is, when did they come back together?
So there were 3 subcommittees and they all did quality of life together.
Oh, yeah, that's
Oh.
right. That is right.
Wow, thank you.
Not that that makes a whole lot of difference in anything, but I'm
No,
just,
but
That
you
is
know,
the-
it's- I thought
how
they
the
would come
sausage
back
would-
together and kind of.
no, they did, but they
Oh.
were, like Douglas said, they were all very, these are mine, and I've worked on these words, and this is my thing. Very
Okay.
territorial, I guess, maybe the word, in that
But
particular.
at some point, I mean, it's got to get through this, you have to consolidate, you've got to.
Absolutely.
You've got, because
To
the
be
things like,
efficient.
you know, continue dune and beach re-nourishment projects. Support beach nourishment projects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's the same thing, right? I mean, at a certain point, you gotta say,
That's
this
the
is
same.
duplicate.
Yeah.
Or we gotta have a column that says, it's duplicate, we're focusing
Well,
on.
that- I would think as you work
the
on-
first one.
in committees, you would get onto an actually actionable
Right.
recommendation, but you could maintain the link of, you know,
This is where it came from.
this,
That's
this
correct.
is where it came from. It's being addressed by, and even if you create a new recommendation to tie them into, multiple ones into something that is,
Actionable and, yeah,
Yeah.
that is the hope.
yeah.
That,
um,
that this process would have somebody consider and recommend to council, and so ultimately council is considering in one fashion or another, all 300 or 287 recommendations that they're kind
Yeah.
of dealing with. So it's a way of organizing that, distilling it down to some,
So there either would be an action to take, or there's an action that had already been taken that addresses it, and it's
ongoing effort
It's
and
an ongoing
continue this.
effort
Right.
that's,
Right.
you know, required by state law or whatever to do this, that people are saying we should be doing.
Yeah,
However it's addressed, but you would address it either that it's already been addressed, or here's
Ongoing.
the action that needs to address, or, yeah, it's still left in kind of an open discussion,
right.
and there's no actions at the time.
It's gonna be,
It'll take a
that's,
while.
it's gonna take a while. It's gonna be a little bit of sausage making, to say the least, but I think, I mean, we're kind of describing, I think you're describing what we were envisioning as a way to work through all 385, or 300 with some organization and some, you know, not just having all of them put on one person or one group, the council at once, and have some order to it.
283. And it does against
Yeah, when I-
283?
Yeah, when I was looking through,
Just
I was
double
trying to look at similar things that were assigned to different committees. And I think there are a couple of those, which are not.
So
hopefully
really, I
those
guess if they're similar enough, they probably should go to the
No,
same.
no,
Same.
no, no, no. Let them go to the different committees.
Committees and let them,
Let
see
them,
committee
yes.
Kinda-
reassign it
Uh-huh.
or recommend it go to a different one.
Or talk through it, or
Or talk through it or
prioritize
whatever, but-
prioritize it, or disregard it, or whatever, just,
But yeah,
it's a lot.
I don't think there's a lot of those, but there are some that kind of, like, when you start talking about beach preservation and, environmental, their beach preservation is part of environmental, so
A little bit of an overlap.
there's an overlap. There's overlaps between public safety and some of the other,
Well, communication.
Safety
public
and quality of
safety.
life stuff,
right,
seasonal impact,
I
yeah.
started looking at this thing and going through and making notes on, you know, some of the goals. Monitor the health of the entire beach. Well, that pretty much is an ongoing, we do that. Coastal Sciences right now, I think, is still under contract, and do they report quarterly to the city in some
Twice a
fashion,
year.
shape, or form?
Yeah.
Twice a year,
Yeah.
And that's the high tide, low tide, the high rise, low rise, whatever it's going on. Sand movement, basically, but I think they also evaluate some of the back beach areas in terms of inlets and accumulation in the marina? Do they do anything with that?
No,
Silting on
no,
that?
no, they stop right at the, kind of they go around the edge of the inlet and stop.
And I think there's like, yeah, there's some of that
But the
stuff where
point
people are.
being, there's things in here, I was looking through and going, well, we got, that's happening. Pursue promising natural defense strategies, absolutely. Snow fencing, or y'all call it sand fencing.
Sandy fencing.
There's things like that. Have standing permits for agreed upon projects. Well, I think that kind of goes to the state. You know, we're talking beach preservation, obviously. I mean, there's things, I was making notes for how are these being addressed. Some of them are currently, and then where they weren't being addressed, I was thinking, well, maybe, you know, that's an environmental issue. It goes to the committee. So I was sort of drilling down. Maybe too much.
Maybe you're getting ahead of your assignment.
Happens.
He's very eager.
You know, hopefully all the groups will do this with that, with the ones assigned to them. and
Yes,
just,
that's the
like I
hope.
said, come back and address, because I think some of these are people don't necessarily know what goes on in the background on the island, so.
Or it started, started since the, it could be, yeah, it's all kind of in a state of flux. It could have started since the recommendation
Well,
happened.
water
biannual.
quality, environmental, the septic tank, there's another one here about, monitor for areas that are leaking or need more attention than others in terms of the water quality. Don't we do that? Is that a
Not at a
regular
very
contract?
granular level. There is very high level testing done by,
It's in the
But-
waterways.
yeah, but
Once a
not,
year or
not
something.
really, I guess the answer would be not really. We're, the Environmental Advisory Committee, that's a priority of theirs, and they are, so we have been doing it here recently. And we did do it 25 years ago, so we're trying to compare and contrast, has it changed? But we haven't been doing a real deep dive on the water quality, and we're doing that now. So it's kind of it's an effort that's underway.
And does the state do?
They do, but it's really
For the
for the shellfish, and so it's a different. They're kind of like, the shellfish are going to be okay. I
Right.
mean, it's
But
not
they
a.
still, yeah, kind of classify it as it's safe to swim in.
Yes, yeah, yeah, they do.
I remember, might have been a long time ago, 25 years.
They did do.
They
We did
had
a deep dive 25 years ago.
Very in-depth, kind of water quality over here by this ditch is, don't swim here, don't
Yeah.
fish there. That
And the
was at
state does still
41st
do.
Street.
State does still do that. Like
Okay.
not to David's point. Like don't harvest shellfish here. Don't swim recreationally. I mean, they close down the front side, parts of the beach.
Yes,
They've closed down on occasion. So there is some level of testing. It's just not a very.
But it'd be nice to
Robust.
have that linked into this, where you find out what is actually going on.
Yep. Yep.
but that, again, it's available through the state.
Correct. Some
Is it
level. is.
regular, I guess, is to add to the form. Okay, all right.
Yeah, they're also doing. I mean, they're doing it.
Push it
out
back to
in the-
committees.
They're kind of doing it out in the middle of the waterways.
Yeah.
So they're not targeting really the ditches, so it's slightly different. Where when we test it, we go to the water coming out of the ditches to see what's running through the island, where they are doing it in the middle of the waterway. So slightly different angles at the same issue. So I've emailed the matrix to everybody. I think only 3 of you had it since it's been updated. And I think we could go one of 2 ways. We could either, if you all would like, now that you have an updated matrix, we could look at it one more time since we've talked about it. Or, and this might be what the subcommittee kind of concluded, go ahead and divvy them out and let each group start working as it's been proposed here.
So,
I'd agree with that.
We're good with that? I think Suzanne's looked at it enough.
yeah, I've looked at it.
Her eyes have crossed enough times that she's, okay.
Because the original recommendations, he took the initiative column out and made it its own tab. So I don't know if we have to look at it anymore. And I see exactly what he did. But it just further, it's just another way of viewing it, that's all.
Yeah. Well, if everybody is comfortable with that, and I think it's, we will, and it will be, it is ultimately.
Yeah, if it's all divvied out on a matrix, let's get it to the various
Get it to the various committees
and let it be reviewed.
And I
So
would
it comes
like for
from
this, you know, as things kind of, you will work well, in my opinion, as kind of a central think tank hub. So as these things come through and change and morph, I would like to have this group as kind of a steering committee for the entire set of
Well,
initiatives.
So, yeah, I was kind of thinking it through in terms of a lot of this stuff should go, eventually get rolled into the comprehensive plan. Not our current version, but the next,
The next
What
update.
current
The-
For
version?
consideration,
well, right. 'cause
10
what-
years from now, that's when it comes back
And it was
up.
kind of interesting
Yeah.
because you sent it out, when you read through the initial comprehensive plan, all started with citizen groups, committees, recommendations that all got piled into recommendations to the planning commission to roll it into.
Yeah.
So we're really almost kind of starting that process again.
It's kind of a constant
Um,
evolution of this, a lot of this.
Because,
similar
we
issues.
didn't go out and get a lot of citizen input into this revision of the comprehensive plan. But
The Community Enrichment
Richmond
Task
plan
Force,
is basically
based on
that.
that. That's correct.
That's what it was, so that would be, to me, the logical next step is to take all this stuff and roll it into the comprehensive plan
do
over
you,
the next 5 years.
in 5 years from now?
Well, over the
Or
next
do we
5
wanna,
years.
we don't wanna Paul, yeah, I think
No, I think we need, no,
we
need
push
to-
forward with the comp plan
Get
as
it
is.
out.
We will say, as it's being adopted, the update starts today.
Basically.
Which is
um,
kind of the way it really
It's
has
always
always
been,
happened that way.
yeah.
As soon as it's done, it starts being,
And then when we start getting
Revised.
recommendations back from committees and they tie
Can
into
roll
the
into-
sections that
that's an
we
excellent,
start with, we start incorporating them.
yeah, I think that's a great plan.
So now we have a dynamic comp plan.
This group, it always
It's
always
pretty
kind of
much
has
is
been.
supposed to be.
Every
Mhm.
5 years, it's very much rewritten, which is, most communities, they hire a consultant every 10 years. And they say, consultant, bring it back when it's ready, and then they look at it and they stamp it. But this group, I mean, it is constantly being redlined and reviewed, and
I think our environment changes a lot quicker than some of the other
Yeah.
communities in the
Yeah.
state in
It is.
particular.
our issues, I mean,
Unless
some of
you're-
you got
unless
some
you're in
big
the
issues.
Textile business in that community.
Yeah,
Yeah, when the plant closes, it's time to update the comp plan.
Yeah.
Georgia, yeah, Georgetown might be redoing.
yes.
Yes.
Goodness gracious.
All right, well, I think that's good. So we will, this will go through, just to be sure that, I mean, this, again, this is ultimately council's direction that will be giving directives to all of these committees, but I think they've been briefed on the plan that you all would develop a process by way of what you've done here. So this will be reported to them, and I expect they will, probably at the end of this month, divvy out the initiatives as suggested here. So you all will get your 30 initiatives maybe next month.
Yeah,
But they're already in here, right? You just have to sort through them.
That's correct. Well,
Yeah,
you just have to,
31.
yeah, you need to talk through them and, you know, kind of come up with next steps on each one that would have next steps.
I already have a column for planning.
There's only 23.
23?
Thank you, I have the numbers still on there.
Piece of cake.
You might get off easy. You might be but you'll be the housekeeping group for all of them, so.
Yeah, I
I'll
like
talk
the way
about
that
the
sounds.
housekeeping group.
I don't like the way that sounds.
All right, that's all I have. I think,
Oh,
everybody
whoa.
is,
We don't, go ahead.
unless you all have something else. We do have, you all, we talked about the joint, meeting with,
13th.
yeah, that'll be, in May. What is it, May? You said
13th?
13th? Yeah. May 13th at 5.
4:30? Is it
5.
May 13th?
May 13th at 5 will be our workshop with council on the
Yes.
comp plan.
So, I have a question.
Okay?
It's May 13th, I'll just write that down.
Do you all want to,
Where are we? Because when I looked at it, I think I know I sent Matt, I just didn't even do anything to the document anymore. I just sent an email to Matt that, you know, I didn't really think we were ready. If I looked at it and I reviewed it again, and the red lines and whatnot, other than, I would expect that we were gonna send council like a finished product for them to review. But this was in no shape to move forward.
well, I mean, I think in lieu of saying, here it is, perfectly kind of polished, I would expect that they would have revisions, things to consider. So this would be kind of, this is the direction, these are the things that got added, these are all the red lines, these are why the red lines are in there. Have a discussion with them about this is coming to you for your consideration, to see if they had things to add, things to consider.
Well,
And if,
these are little things, like where's Appendix C? It's not there, but it's referenced.
what is, what's the reference?
I thought we fixed that.
I know, Appendix E is not even mentioned anywhere in the document, but it's attached, and,
Under what?
it's not mentioned in the document, but it's attached to the document.
There is an appendix C.
E,
Oh, E,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I just kind of went through, I'm like, well, the priority investment section still needs some gaps that I left in there for information from the town. And transportation section, there's some stuff about the roads. It was a long email, but I don't feel comfortable handing it over to council the way it is. If that makes any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, Sandy,
Many-
you read it, right?
Yeah, and I, that's what I was referencing, Matt, when I asked if that
Okay.
was the corrected, based on some of what Susan was inputting. There were extra pages, and it actually said delete page. And they're still there.
Well, Suzanne, what's the, how many of those, and I apologize, I must have missed it. Is this a relatively new
2
email?
months ago?
No, I
Okay,
said
oh, okay.
it when you said, you said, I think, our meeting with council has been canceled. It's
Okay,
gonna have to
so
be
probably about
rescheduled.
probably,
And then I replied to you, oh, thank gosh, and
okay.
then I
6 weeks.
Well, do you want to,
quit this.
Technically, you have until like May 9th to make it look okay, because it won't go out to council
Yeah.
until, that's when the packet will be.
yeah, so we could either, I mean, if they are small enough that we could make it fill in blanks by May 9th, but there was
I don't
never the
know.
expectation that it would be a polished, finished document with graphics and,
No, I
it was
didn't
always gonna
expect
be a
that.
working, and it would be explained that this is, you know, these are the changes so far. Let us know your feedback. We will then return back after we've heard your feedback with a finished product. So it's kind of a check-in with them and an update for them, so that they don't try to digest the entire thing at once. And also so they don't feel like they're just receiving a finished product without the ability to to have input on it.
Okay.
So
Well,
we could either, it's been on our to-do list for well over a year. We could either go another month and spend May filling in those gaps, if that would make you feel better.
I just, if you're fine sending it to council the way it is, that's fine. I just,
Yeah, it's a rough draft and we can work through it in the meeting.
Yeah, and that
It
was,
takes some
Okay.
time.
they're not, well, okay.
They have the bandwidth to sit and work through it like we have.
So the Word document you sent out is what we're considering is
What's going to council?
the final document at this point?
The
That
rough
was the most
draft.
recent one we had.
The
most
draft.
recent one, yeah.
the most recent draft.
'Cause,
And
yeah,
it will
I-
be,
I did notice that, yeah, I was just thinking the pages weren't, the appendix weren't attached.
Maybe it wasn't the most. We should double check.
But I know I've seen those appendixes in other versions.
I know, that's why I dumped my comments to paper, just to make sure, because I didn't want to attach them to.
Because when you said that was one of the things I had gone through before,
Here,
earlier.
you want this? I printed out my comments, sorry.
well, we'll work through these, and then between now and setting that meeting, so between now and May kind of 9th, we'll,
May 9th, 13th?
well, May 9th is when it would go out.
Okay.
We'll see if we can get it in a format that's, again, it will be presented as this is the working draft of the document. And if the group wants
So we
to,
will spend between now and next meeting, sending,
Bogging down Matt's email with the
Yeah.
deadlines.
with more, well, yeah, that's what I was asking.
I think that's, yeah, I mean, I think that, I tell you what, I would say if the group thinks there's that much, let's, because our regular meeting would be the 15th.
Next day,
Yeah,
14.
ours would be the 5th.
14.
Oh, ours, that's not the council workshop?
The council workshop's the 13th.
13th,
Their
okay.
regular meeting would be the 14th.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
I already have that down. So what do you think, Sandy? You want to just roll the
I'd
dice, or?
Push it out there, let's go.
Go with a
It's not
working
that
draft?
bad. I mean, the crux to the document is still the crux to the document. There's some little wordsmithing here and there, but I think we can work through that.
Yeah, I mean, I over the last few days or whatever, I read through basically the entire thing. And yeah, you see a couple little, notes that I didn't even send you because it wasn't that big a deal, but I don't know, you're always, I think everybody reads it.
Each time you read it, you're gonna have
You'll catch something.
an edit here or there.
Uh,
Well, why don't we clean those up send Matt comments between now and the 9th. We'll plan on having the council workshop, May 13th. And if somebody, Suzanne, this is for you, gets very anxious and said, let's just meet one more time and go over it, I don't think there's any harm in that either.
Yeah, to me, the only glaring one were the ones that said to be added, the notes that were already highlighted in yellow, that were just,
Right, I was,
implied something was missing.
Yeah, okay.
And again, whether we.
Let's see if we can fill those in between now and
Either
the 9th.
address them or take them out altogether.
And if we feel like we can't get those highlighted kind of to be written things filled in between now and then, we'll let you know.
okay.
And I think most of that was in the priority investment and really was dealing with sources of funding,
Right,
um,
we were,
which again was kind of like,
we weren't tying any specific project to any specific
Mhm.
fund, so I was
Kind
kind
of
of,
lists.
yeah.
here's a very ambiguous thing, what do I put here?
Well, that was our first attempt at that section too.
Okay,
I can sense her uneasiness.
Yeah,
I'm going with this,
All right.
I'm trying to be more, I just, when I mean, if if we were presenting this to council, I worry not to waste their time with so much on their plate. So I would like to give them something that looks like it's a little more finished. But let's see what we can do.
All right, I'm gonna say, let's revise it, delay the council workshop until June. You all will look at a more finished product on May 14th.
I'm great with that.
I'm okay with that.
Great
Let's,
with that.
let's do that. I think I'd rather be, I mean, it's been slow already.
Maybe just, so.
One more month. So we're gonna
Kick the can.
We're gonna kick the can one more month and spend May reviewing the comprehensive plan with edits, with
But we're
blanks
still
filled
meeting
in.
with council on May 13th.
No,
No,
We're not gonna do
until
that.
the following month.
We're gonna see if they can
Oh.
put us in June.
we're gonna have our regular meeting on the 14th, fill in the gaps, polish it up a little bit more between now and the 14th. Be better prepared to meet with council in June workshop. Nicole, you don't know there, I guess it would be the second.
Like the 10th?
June 10, yeah.
So June 10 would be council workshop. That will let Suzanne sleep easier at night.
No, she still
just-
won't be able to sleep
Yeah.
until we get.
I just don't want to waste their time.
Yeah, they have a lot going on.
If we do that at 4 o'clock, or that would be another.
That would be at 5. So we will be 14th at 4.
So we tell Jeff at 3:30.
So June 10th.
June
5
10th at
o'clock,
5,
and
council workshop.
tentatively. And we meet the 11th at 4
In June
in June.
for our postmortem.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, yes. In June, I thought you were talking about May. Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. Does that work for everybody? In the meantime, we will also delve out assignments from the matrix.
We can kick the can on that a month because this is more important.
No, that one's going.
What?
The matrix is going.
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You're saying kick the can on the comp plan because
No,
we.
well, kick the can on the matrix, farm it out to everybody else.
Yes,
So-
okay. No, you all have done your good work. All right.
June 10th?
But we have to agree on it. We recommend kicking it too, so that'll take.
Oh,
that'll
well,
take
it's
at least
already
a
in
meeting.
there.
I'll make
No,
a-
all the ones that were assigned to us, we want to kick them to somebody else.
Oh, yeah.
I'll
The
make- I'll
20
make
the
that
20
motion.
Well, Ron and Jeff aren't here, we can kick it to them. You want another committee, huh? Okay.
Did you make a motion?
I did,
What was the motion? Got-
all the above. That we, bring up the comprehensive plan in May
Oh, okay.
for review,
Yep,
and that the,
And meet with council in June.
meeting
Yep.
council in June.
excellent.
And our next agenda item is kicking the can on the, no, we're pushing this forward to the committees.
Right, we're
Yes,
pushing that
correct.
forward to the committees.
Yep.
We need a motion for that.
No, we're good.
We're very casual here.
We'll know what hit them.
No, we're good. That's all I have. Unless anybody else has anything.
Entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
I'm not even gonna discuss.
All those
Nothing.
in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Group.